So my name is Xavier Blue. I first started going to U of T actually in Mississauga. So I did my undergrad in Mississauga in English and Women and Gender Studies. And then right after that, I was catapulted into doing my MA in English Lit at the downtown campus. So I've been here for quite a while at U of T. I started my MA in September 2017. I don't fully remember. I can't believe I don't remember. And ended, when did I end? I think like in the summer of 2018. No, that's not it. I started 2016 and then I ended 2017. Yes, that makes sense. I guess I was just curious about what I can get up to while I was doing my master's at U of T. I think I was already interested in these questions of like faith, sexuality, and gender. That was because the year before that, I was already reading queer and feminist theology. I knew already by then this was like the seeds of something that I wanted to explore a little more. When I went to the Multi-Faith Center website, I realized there was a section on queering religion. And I was like, whoa, okay, cool. What drew me to the program was the fact that it was so open about being a space that is affirming for queer and trans folks on campus. And it was an interfaith space. And I think that was really important for me, just coming from a very kind of hardcore Christian background. To go into other sacred spaces is very alien. I wanted to kind of break that kind of, in my mind, very toxic way of interacting with people of other faiths, and also just really push myself into going into an interfaith space. Each time we came in, there was a theme and there were questions we can ask, and we had to pull out a question. And I remember we were talking about race and we were talking about colorism, and I don't know, there was something about being in a space that is queer and trans affirming where I can still bring parts of my racial identity that felt so important to me. Because in a lot of spaces that I have explored subsequently, it's been harder to do. I'm not sure why. Maybe I do know, but maybe it's just hard to articulate. But I felt that queering religion gave me a really kind of positive experience with that, because there was an openness, but at the same time there was a sense in which we were accountable to each other. I'm trying to pick just one event, and it's very hard to pick just one event. The one about home. The showcase, that was just, what a beautiful moment, just to bring all these amazing different creatives together and just to explore what it means to be queer and or trans, and thinking about home in that context. It's such a hard topic, you know, and I feel like there's a lot of trauma in it for folks who didn't have such a good experience when it comes to how their faith, gender, and sexuality was either affirmed or unaffirmed in those spaces. So like having such a diverse group of people come together with very different experiences of home and be okay sitting there and talking about, yes, the painful, but the beautiful as well, and really allowing both to coexist. Right? So like making sure that our narratives don't erase each other's, but we can all like be held, you know, in that space. And I think that's something to be said about queering religion. I find that it's a space where all of me can be held. I can be queer, I can be non-binary, I can be a brown girl, I can be, you know, like there's so many different, like I can be all these things in the space. And I think that's rare. You don't get that often, so. I remember that was the day I got my half shave. So I shaved my head, part of it. And I walked in and I was so proud because it was my first time, because I've wanted that haircut forever. And to finally just go into the salon and be like, do it. And then come and then perform, like it just, I felt just that much closer to who I've always wanted to be and how I've always wanted to present. And that meant a lot, like not only just like as a person, but as an artist. But what was like sincerely profound to me was when I was there, I remember the sunlight was there, like filtering into the room. It was a small but dependable crowd, you know, it was perfect. Like you want just the right people were there. Like we were creating a piece of home together. That's what it felt like to me. I felt at home. That's what it was. There's something about coming together in a room and making a commitment to each other to create intentional safe space and community that doesn't really happen everywhere, you know? And I think the fact that yes, things got heavy, but we were always committed to trying to encourage and uplift even despite the heaviness, you know, and that's what I loved about the space. It wasn't just through sort of like dialogue, it was through the art, it was through grounding techniques, it was through just all these different ways to relate to each other and most importantly, relate to ourselves as well. There's always been such a fracture between my gender and sexual identity and then my faith identity. To truly be in a space where all of those things can begin to reconcile, you know, allowed me to then further explore myself in a new light. Once again, it's rare for a space to be able to hold all of that together. God, help the brown girl out. So this song, God Help the Brown Girl Out, it came from a very sad place, a very desperate place, and a place where I also just really wanted to sing my truth. The version that I sang at the showcase was the most vulnerable kind of performance and iteration of the song that I have ever written. And I will always be thankful to that space for holding and giving me the opportunity to sing that particular version. Oh God, tell me that you hear her. She cries there in her sleep, and no one seems to hear her. She feels herself crumbling down.